What's up, y'all? Adam Hoots here, the lean builder, Hoots on the ground with no bullshito. And I'm coming to you today with my buddy, Mr. Mack Story from Blue Collar Leadership. Mack, say hello to the people.
Hey, Adam, man, it's great to be on here on your podcast, and it's a privilege, actually. I know you doing what you do to make a difference, and I'm just showing up, see if I can help you make a difference today. That's all I'm here for.
Don't downplay it here, man, because we're going to dive into exactly who you are. And I can't wait because we've traded some messages back and forth for quite a while, but we've never really dove in, and I don't really know you that well. So today, I want to really focus in on you as a person. I have taken in a ton of your content, especially in the last 48 hours. So
Okay.
I have just been stalking you everywhere, and I am excited for everybody to get to know you because you're just a good dude, man, and you're making a huge difference. You're super humble about it, and I am just excited for the world to figure out who you are. And so, really, that is my first question to you. Like, who is Mack Story? What makes you tick? What gets you going?
Yeah, who I am, I'm just a regular guy. I've always been a regular guy. I'm gonna always be a regular guy. And I say I'm an ordinary guy trying to make an extraordinary difference. And I don't ever want to be any different than I've ever been my whole life. I have no desire to change. I like just being a regular old guy. I don't like wearing suits. You'll see me in a suit every now and then. I tell folks that that's my Halloween costume. I wore it to speak at Yale back in 2018. I told them, I grabbed my tie and I said, just let y'all know I wore my Halloween costume for y'all today. But I don't like to wear it, but I know how to wear it. I've worn a lot worse, got paid a lot less in my life as a blue collar guy. You know what I'm talking about.
Amen. Yes, sir.
but but yeah, why I do what I do, I just want to help people have a better life. What motivates me and inspires me is talking to you today is motivating and inspire me. Even if we were not on the podcast, if we were just talking like this. And I talk to people all the time. I spend a lot of hours every week for free. I've been paid back when I got started. I'd worked my way up and got paid $20,000 to speak back in 2016. I got paid, people were paying $750 an hour to talk to me, but pretty much I stopped doing that back in 2016. I changed my model up. I was going through all kinds of training and development, learning how to become a whatever you want to call it, an official speaker is, but I still ain't changed. I'm just the same guy. I just stand in a different spot when I talk. it don't matter. I ain't trying to be like a polished professional. I just want to know what I'm talking about and speak from a place of authenticity and experience and that sort of thing. But now we do, I don't know if I ain't trying to promote it. I'm just trying to share a little bit of my story because I was getting paid like that. And I don't do that anymore. I speak for free many hours every week. I coach and mentor people and for $0. And most of the time when we're speaking, we're not getting paid to speak. What we do now is any company or conference type setting that'll purchase 300 books at a minimum. We pay all our expenses and come speak for free when they get in the books. And somebody said, why you tell people you're speaking for free if I had to buy the books? I said, did you get the books? They said, yeah. I said, that's what you paid for. And then I tell them a story about being paid 20 grand to speak and they didn't get any books. They paid for us to speak. So it's like a ministry. If you want to, some people say that to me, they say, what you do is like a ministry. Yeah. I don't know really if it is or not. I just want to help people. But when I go in the room, I don't want to be paid to be talking to somebody. I don't mind telling them that somebody bought some books and that's why I'm talking to you, but I tell them they invested in you. So I told them if they'll invest in you, I'll invest in you. And what they had to do is buy you the books. I worked out a win deal with them, whoever them is at the moment. And if they'll buy you the books, if they'll invest in you, we'll invest in you. And what that means is I got to spend my wife Rhea's money to come talk to you.
I love that. What a concept, because I just finished the Blue Collar Leadership book and was all over bluecollarsleadership.com.
BlueCollarLeadership.com. Yep.
Yeah. And have just blown away by the information out there. And I guess I saw the deal there with the 300 books and you come and speak. And I think that's incredible. And it's just got me reflecting on my own journey and where I am. And man, you better believe that I'm going to borrow that. I'm going to R&D that, as we call, rip
I
and
hope you do.
deploy, because I think that is brilliant. I love the investing in people side of it because our industry, specifically construction, and I know you speak to a larger audience than just that, but I think we don't invest in people enough. And That's one of the key differences that I think you're making in our industry, but also other industries as well. So I thank you for that. And as a regular a guy as you are, having a profound impact to blue collar workers everywhere. What does that feel like? What does that do to you?
It just keeps me going, man. That's why you see me posting on LinkedIn, on social media. I do it all the time. And I don't care how many likes I get. A lot more people are paying attention than like it or share it. I always know that. But I just do it because it's in me and it's got to come out. And I could do a whole lot more, but then people quit following me because I'd be flooding the social media feed all the time. So I post a couple times. I do a podcast. Once a week, I put out an episode, and we starting a Blue Collar Leadership YouTube page and write books. I write a newsletter every week on LinkedIn that goes out and have 300 something articles. And I'm just sharing that with you because that's just where it's got to come out of me. I don't do this for a job. A lot of people who do what I do, it's a job. It ain't a job for me. It's what I'm put here to do. I figured it out and I'm happy. I tell people I ain't trying to make a lot of money. I'm trying to make a lot of difference. And what I figured out, though, if you make enough difference, you make more than enough money, especially if your goal is to make a difference. It's easy to make enough money because you ain't got to have a lot of money to make a difference, but you got to have a lot of money to have some big fancy house and big fancy cars and toys. You got to have all kind of money for that. I may get some of that stuff. I done gave up all that stuff in my life to be able to be doing this. A lot of people don't know that. I gave up everything. My wife and I, we gave up our jobs, our careers, our house. I got to tell you, Adam, you may not care nothing about this, but I sure cared about it. But I had a Corvette Z06 with long tube headers and a Ford Raptor truck, and I loved both of them. And I gave them things up before I gave up my lean manufacturing consulting clients. And I mean, I had plenty of money. I was blowing about 20 grand a month, just wasting it. And, but when I decided I wanted to start doing this, I sold my Corvette, and then I sold my Raptor and bought a Nissan Sentra. So I went from a Corvette and Raptor to a Nissan Sentra by choice while I still had plenty of money. And then Rio went from a Hummer to a Toyota Corolla. And then I let all my clients go. So I went from a pretty good, strong 6-figure salary to zero. And then a year later, Rio was jealous of me being broke. So she gave up about 100 grand a year and went to zero with me. But when she gave up her salary, it went with the benefits and everything else, went with the healthcare and all that kind of stuff. That was in 2012 when I transitioned. And in 2013 when she joined me. And then we broke hard till about 2017 for about 5 years, but we were happier than we'd ever been. Like I tell people, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, don't matter if you make a lot of money. You just need enough to survive. That ain't even hard to do, but it's been a good journey. But I didn't do all that for me. I like that car. I didn't give that car up for me. I gave that car up so I could be talking to you today. I just didn't know that back then. You know, when we go speak somewhere, we tell them we gave up everything. Sometimes we tell that story and we'll ask them, why would it cause somebody to give up everything? Because most people won't give up a quarter an hour to go from one job they don't like to a job they actually might like. They worried about that quarter, and so they won't try to be happy. So what to make somebody give up their entire salary? And I always say, today it was you, because that's why I give it up. And when I started figuring out I could help people have a better life, you say, how did it make me feel? It made me feel good, and I like it. So that's all I want to do, 24/7, 365. It's all I do. I find something else to do if nobody's calling me. I ain't got nothing to write. I ain't got nothing to read and that kind of stuff. I might go hiking or go fishing or something, but this is what I want to do. I do that other stuff when I ain't got the opportunity to do this type thing.
Tell me about some of that other stuff. What other things personally get you passionate or are you fired up about?
Seeing Ria's happy and succeeding, that gets me fired up. Do you know her story by chance?
I don't. Would love to hear it if she's okay with you sharing it.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit, but I'll encourage you and anybody listening to hear a little bit from her. They can watch her 7-minute TEDx talk she has. It's at
How do you find it, you think?
you go to her website. It's Ria, like Kia the car, but with an R,
Okay.
RIASTORY.com/TED, like the name Ted, and then the
Yes.
X, riastory.com/TEDx. It's a 7-minute. I tell people if you ever need a dose of inspiration with a great lesson on resilience, you need to go, watch that 7 minutes and see where she's coming from. And she's got 3 books on her story, but she was sexually abused by her father from age 12 to 19. I don't mean a little bit, like horrifically, like sex trafficked to other folks. And it was rough. She talks about it in her books, but when you understand her story, every single thing she says means a whole lot more when you understand. Because most people who go through what she went through, They commit suicide, they turn to drugs and alcohol. They don't usually have a good life, not the people that have what happened to her. And now she's on stage writing books and speaking and all that sort of stuff. But when I met her, it was happening to her. And took me about 3 months. She was 19 when I met her. Took me about 3 months to really, I just asked her. Somehow, I've always been good with intuition with people. And somehow I just thought I knew what was going on. So I had to ask her because I just want to know. And she said I was the first person that ever asked her. And she broke down and told me a lot of the stuff that's in her books. And I made sure it stopped that day. Even though I had never read all this kind of stuff back then, that was in 2000. I didn't read my first leadership personal growth book until 2008. I was very reactive. I had bad temper, man. I used to want to kill everybody. I didn't want to help anybody, but I was just focused on me, is who I used to be. That's why what I write about and talk about, I'm so passionate about it. I know it's a choice. You can imagine what I wanted to do to that guy, her father, that day when I found out. That was 23 years ago. And I still want to do it this morning. There ain't been a day went by I ain't wanted to do it. But I'm focused. My thing for her is to be there for her, because nobody's ever been there for her. So she made me a better person, because I ain't gonna let her down. She had enough people in her life let her down, and I let down a lot of people, but it ain't gonna be her.
Man, wow. That was super touching. I appreciate you sharing that. That was a powerful share. I can't wait to watch the TED Talk, and I'm gonna put that in the show notes for sure to share that with everybody. Because, man,
It ain't lean talk, but it's powerful talk. It's real talk. It's what people need.
yeah, it is lean talk. When I think about lean, like, it's just real. It's, hey, this is my experience. I didn't have control over that experience. And I've had enough time to learn and grow from it, to self discover learnings, true learnings from my past that I had no control over. Once that past is there and you see it and you recognize it, you can deal with it and understand it. And again, pull the learnings to apply, like you're saying. I'm not that person anymore. I
Oh
have
yeah.
control over who I am. Your book, The Blue Collar Leadership, is just full of these timeless principles that are very easy, and just what I've been isn't what I am. Moving forward, I can be something different if I believe and if I follow some of these steps in the book. I'm going through some of this right now, like just recognizing, hey, I haven't always been a great person to my wife, and she hasn't always had a whole lot of people that have been there for her. And to hear your story is, man, I take a lot of inspiration. Like, did you just had that from the start, or was that like something you developed? Where did that come from?
When you say that, what are you speaking about?
Like, with that, nobody's ever been there for you. I'm gonna do that. I want to be that person.
Yeah, that being as strong as it is today really started when I started reading these type books that I write now. Personal growth and character development. That's everything I write about, is character development. That book you're talking about, Blue Collar Leadership, Leading from the Front Lines, that I wrote it. If I could talk about any one of my books, I've got 15. That'd be the one I want to talk about every day, is that one, because that's the foundational stuff. Like you're talking about here, when I said this is not really lean stuff, but if you understand true respect for the people, this 100% lean stuff. It's why I'm not going to change. I'm going to always be authentic, because if I want to connect with people, especially real people, blue collar folks, you better be real. It don't matter who you are, what you wear, and what kind of car you driving. You just better be real.
We'll find you. Oh yeah.
Blue collar folks can see in the dark, man, when it comes to figuring out somebody. And we always cautious and suspicious, because a lot of people have used us and abused us throughout our career. It's just about your arms and legs and your back, and it ain't really about your mind and that sort of stuff. But yeah, when I started learning about character development, like most people today, probably who don't study character development, they think, and when we teach, we help people understand this. When you talk about character development, most people probably instantaneously they think it means I'm good or bad. That's pretty much short definition that most people have. When I tell somebody you need to work on your character, if I said it like that, first thing they probably think is he thinks I'm some bad guy or something like that. No, I think, what I try to tell people, character is everything that we are. It's who we are. It's what we do. It's why we do what we do. It's how we do what we do. It is absolutely every single thing that makes up who we are. And we can't hide it from anybody. Every choice we make, anybody watching, anybody impacted, we either build trust or distrust with those people. We may not ever even speak to them. You've seen somebody do something to somebody and you didn't like it. You may not have even known them. So that means you start out with an overdrawn trust account with those people, kind of thing, it's kind of like a bank account. And just be transparent with you, because transparency builds trust. Depending on what it is and where you've come from when you're talking about what you share, right? But we tell this from the stage when I tell people about Rhea and I. Sometimes we talk about being married. After we've talked for a while, I'll put my arm around her and I'll say, I bet y'all didn't know this is my fourth wife. And you can almost hear the crowd like, oh. And Rhea'll say, oh, you think less of him now, don't you? But we've been together 23 years because I figured out what was my problem was with all my other relationships. You looking at him right now. It's every single problem I've ever had in my life. I was involved in every one. Whether it was a tiny problem or a big problem, I was involved in every single one. When I started studying about character, I read a book called Integrity from Dr. Henry Cloud, and I love his definition. I talk about it all the time. He says, character is the ability to meet the demands of reality. When you really dive into that definition, and he also says integrity is the courage to meet the demands of reality. So character is the ability to meet the demands of reality. Integrity is the courage. Now you got to go do it. Just like everything I do, anybody's got the ability to do what I do, but a lot of them don't have the courage to do it. It's just, I read a quote or shared, actually in my podcast this week, I think I shared something. I think it was from Jim Rohn, and he was talking about how he got successful and other people didn't. And he said, what I found easy to do, other people found not easy to do. Like I read every day. Ever since I discovered this stuff, 2008, I've been reading every day. I read something every day, or either I watch a video or a podcast, but I pretty much read every day. But I'll do a lot of other stuff too. But that's easy to do. Anybody could do it. But most people find that easy not to do. It's easier to go drink a beer and watch a football game. I was listening to a podcast. I got to tell you this, Adam. I'm about to get fired up because I'm thinking about the
Yeah,
podcast
man,
I was listening to this morning. This guy was talking about people watching football. And this guy, his name's, I just discovered him a month or so ago. His name's Myron Golden. He's phenomenal. I ain't discovered anybody get me fired up like him in a long time because I've been reading and studying and growing so long that everything's lots the same. I've covered a lot, but he speaks what I call leadership truth. It's like a surgeon's scalpel. It might hurt a little bit, it might sting, but it's meant to help. I speak a lot of that. And he was talking about people watching a football game on the weekend and talking about we winning. You ain't winning. You sitting on the couch. You broke. They winning. He said, I don't know why anybody ever want to, anybody broke. I don't know why anybody broke ever want to sit at home, watch somebody else win. Why they losing? I'm like, man, my goodness, that guy's talking my language. He gets me fired up, man. I want to go put my helmet on, run through the wall when I hear him talk. Because it's the truth. There's so many people sit around, they broke as they can be, and they sit around wasting their time. Because I learned this from him too the other day. I already knew it, but he says things I like the way he says it. He says, most people are working on making money so they can pay their bills. That's why most people work, so they can pay their bills. That's the whole problem. They get enough money to pay the bills, they ain't worried about nothing else. They can go watch a football game. They got the bills paid. They can watch a football game. They can hang out. They ain't worried about finding their purpose, living their life, and having a better life. That's what I want to help people do, have a better life. I said that earlier, right? And if that involves money, that's fine. I ain't worried about the money, though. I want to help you figure out how to have a better life. That's what I want to do for people. I don't care if you're driving a trash truck or if you're the CEO and you got millions of dollars. I don't care. Everybody can be better. And there's a quote from Michael Josephson, one of my favorite quotes. I say it all the time when I'm speaking, especially about character. And he says, you don't have to be sick to get better. That means we all got some room. I tell people to help people understand that the top athlete anywhere in the world, in any sport, the number one athlete in that sport, that guy or gal ain't sitting home eating Cheetos, drinking beer. They out there trying to get better because they know everybody behind them's coming for them. And if they got any chance of staying at the top, they don't have to be sick to get better. They're at the top of their game.
Somebody's working hard out there. Might as well be you. I heard a real wise guy say that one time. I
Yeah,
don't know.
man. I said, make it happen, or somebody else will. It might as
That's
well
what
be you.
that's
I'm
what it
trying to do
was.
my best, make sure it's me, but there's room for all of us.
Amen.
Everybody can climb. No, ain't nobody got to sit back. There's room for everybody to climb the mountain that I'm talking about climbing. But
That's
I
right.
tell you what, you can't get to the top of the mountain I'm talking about with base camp character. You got to have top of the mountain character if you're gonna climb the mountain I'm trying to help everybody climb. And it's one where they can be successful. They can be effective. They can have great relationships. Everybody can win, but it starts with character.
I'll tell you, everything that you're talking about reminds me of the Japanese. It's a feeling they call ikigai. Are you familiar with that?
I hadn't heard that one.
So they say it's the intersection of four things. It's the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for.
Oh
And
yeah, that's
so
Dr. Covey writes about that in the Eighth Habit. He don't call it that, but he's got the four circles.
so it's essentially the Japanese way of retirement. They don't really have a word for retirement. They have once you're physically unable to give back to your trade or your industry, than you give back from a knowledge standpoint. And I feel this kind of love of what you do and how you're doing it. And I know, and we all know the world needs it. I'm just a huge fan, man. I love what you're doing. You're making a huge impact in something that the world needs big time.
Yep.
Uh,
And our world needs all of us to find that spot you just described. Because I tell Rhea and or other people that part of our goal has been to use all these principles we've been learning that we now teach, and we have done it. But we want people to look at our life and not know, are they at work, or are they retired, or are they on vacation? They can't tell the difference. When I worked hard, I remember back in '95, man, my previous wife and I both worked, had a full-time job. And I remember, I think it was '93 when we actually bought a little trailer. I tell you how broke I was. We bought a little trailer on 2 acres of land for $13,000. Even back in '95, that wasn't much. The trailer didn't even have a floor in the bedroom, man. I first got there, I was walking on 2x4s because the floor was rotted out. But we'd pay all our bills, budget for gas money, and literally, I remember, because it was this way for quite a while. It was eight bucks. With no overtime, it was $8 a week that we had left. I had time for the ball game, though. Somehow I always had some cold beer to drink. I ain't drank any beer since 2012, part of my journey. But I was
or
moaning,
curse,
groaning. What's
right?
that?
Or you haven't said a curse word, or you've avoided cursing as well.
Since
I heard.
2012, I do say I stopped using profanity in 2012, but I did say one word, man, one time about 2 years ago.
Okay.
I
Well,
dropped the
tell me
toilet
about
on I
that.
dropped the toilet on my thumb. I was changing out a toilet, and when I was trying to set it back down over the little wax, I don't know what it's called. You know what I'm talking about though? That
The
wax
wax
thing.
ring. Wax ring. Yeah.
Yeah, the wax ring.
Yes,
And
sir.
I was trying to get it right on top of it. And somehow I slipped, mashed my thumb,
Yeah.
and I say it today. I don't count this, so I'm saying it for teaching purpose. But I just said, "Damn!" But that's the only thing I said. That's the only thing I said in 12 years, and I hate it, man. I hate it because I had a clean track record till that moment. I have no idea why that came out.
Well, that's okay. On behalf of all of the plumbers out there, you are forgiven for sure, because we've said it a lot worse.
You know, why did I quit using profanity? I used to tell people that I used to be the guy, if I said a one-word sentence, it had 2 words of profanity. And that's the truth. I don't even see how people could talk without saying all the stuff I used to say. I couldn't comprehend it. You know, I was in a Marine infantry unit right out of high school, and most of us infantry Marines, we know how to drink real good, and we know how to cuss real good and party real good and all that kind of stuff. So I had to unlearn a lot of that to be doing this. But I gave up all that, again, like everything else. Really not for me. I like all that. I ain't have a problem with it myself. But as I started learning this stuff, I started figuring out for me to have the greatest impact, I got to live it. And I told my son in 2012, that's the first time I had paid for any go to a conference was in 2012. And I went to a John Maxwell conference, and Rhea and I paid $5,000 for me to be there for 3 days. And we both paid $5,000 for my son to be there with me for 3 days. The same son who hated me from age 15 to 19 that didn't even speak to me. He hated me. But when he was 17, I discovered this stuff, and I was able to rebuild that relationship, so much so that he wanted to come work with me. And when we left that conference, I told Eric, that's my son, I said, you know what my competitive advantage is going to be in this space? Because I felt I'm behind the 8 ball. That was 2012. So I was 43 at the time. I said, I felt like I'm behind the 8 ball, and my whole life, I ain't been nowhere near the kind of person that I am today. I've been a lot different. But I said, you know what my competitive advantage is going to be in this leadership development space? It's going to be the degree that I live what I teach. And I knew that in 2012. And that's the day when I told him that. We were sitting in the parking lot, and that's the same time I told him right after that. I said, I won't be using profanity anymore. I had stopped alcohol about 2 or 3 months before that. But I told him, and that was at that moment, it was purely out of respect for John Maxwell, who I had just went to his conference, and I had just been certified to teach a lot of his content. And, you know, he was a pastor and all that sort of stuff. I don't even know if he uses profanity. I ain't never heard him do it, but he could do it. And he never knows I stopped. But I wanted to represent him well. If I was going to say anything about him and his brand, I wanted to represent him well. And then I grew on into it, and I figured out I want to model what I'm teaching for you. I don't care what you do. You need to care what you do, but I don't care what you do. I want what's best for you. And I ain't going to judge you about what you do. I'm going to judge me, though, about what I do, especially as a leader to model for you. I just need to try to do as much as I can. And there's people who drink. They don't care if I don't drink. As long as I don't judge them, they care less if I drink. There's people who I talk to and they rattling off profanity the whole time. And they probably don't even ever notice that I'm not, but they don't care that I don't because I don't care that they do. It doesn't make any difference. But if I was rattling off profanity, there's people with a high degree of character who wouldn't want any influence from me. They had to go get it from somebody else. There's people who don't drink alcohol that if I drank alcohol, they wouldn't want their influence from me. So, but the way that I am, I figured out how I can be where I can influence both sets of folks. Because as long as I don't judge the folks who are doing things that I don't do, they don't care.
Mm.
Nobody cares. I don't want to hang out with somebody drinking. I don't want to talk to people about serious stuff while they're drinking, but I don't care if they drink. Just when Rhea drinks wine, I don't care if she drinks wine, but I don't drink wine. But she drinks a glass of wine every now and then. She don't drink like I used to drink. I drank where I couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't remember what I did the whole weekend. I used to get off on Friday and start drinking till Sunday when I had off time. That's who I used to be.
Yes, man, you've just planted so many seeds that I want to water. My mind is stuck with that 15 to 19. You discovered at 17. So here's where I am. I'll just put this out there. Once I start to discover some of this, like you just said the word character development. When I heard that, that did something in my head where it's okay, if I continue to be this person, now I'm just being ignorant to my character development. Like that's big to me. Can you take me through like, okay, you recognized a variance from what you want. What were the steps that you took to, especially like and on the home front is where I'm particularly interested in my journey right now.
Yeah.
What were the steps that you said I'm going to do to get this variance back to plan?
Okay. So I'm gonna tell you some, but I want to tell you 2 books where I got it all written down because I
Perfect.
can't tell you
Beautiful.
that much in the
That's fine. That's perfect.
my first book called Defining Influence. It's a bigger book. It's about 250 pages, but it got a lot of personal stuff in it. It's got a lot of stories about Eric when I got it wrong as a parent.
Ooh.
I tell how I did, but also teach the lesson of how I could have did it better, knowing what I know now. And so that's a bigger, thicker book. Like I said, 250 pages, about 19 chapters. Most of my books now are 90 pages, 30 chapters with 3 pages per chapter. And the next one I'm going to tell you is like that. And it's really what you're asking me, I think. It's 10 foundational elements of intentional transformation, how to become your best self. It's like the mental roadmap. How did I actually transform? And it's full of principles. It's like a 10-layered foundation of with your values. That's what you got to change first. Till you change your values, ain't nothing going to change, but you can change them. I used to value drinking, then I decided I don't value drinking. So when I decided I don't value drinking, it's easy to quit. The other 100 times I just wanted to quit drinking and I throw my stuff away on Monday, and then Friday I got to buy it all over again because my values hadn't changed, but I've transformed now. But the first thing is you got to understand what character is. It's just a reflection of who you are and you can't hide it. We talk about the culture of a company. It's nothing but the collective character of all the people in the company. You want to transform the culture, you got to motivate and inspire people to change their values. Like I can tell how you talking to me, how you looking to me. You want your life to be better somewhere. You ain't got to share what that is with me, especially on your podcast, but that's everybody. Everybody's got that. You got that. And what you got to know right now, whatever area you want your life to be better in, you got to find out what you value that's causing that to be that way, the wrong way, what I'm saying. It may not have been wrong yesterday, but if you start wanting it to be better, then you're going to figure out, it's just like lean, right? Continuous improvement. Without change, there can be no improvement. All these principles are the same. And I love to get on your podcast some more if you want to talk about specific books or specific things, because I got lots of content. You seem to be interested in it. But to answer your question, how did I actually? It took me 4 years. I started reading every day in 2008. It took me 2 years for my son even wanted to talk to me again, any meaningful kind of way. But I was working on getting better, and I was trying to use it in my professional life. In my lean events, for your audience, between '05 and 2012, I logged 11,000 hours leading Kaizen events. And so when I started my own lean consulting business in 2008, I started teaching them this leadership development that I was learning. It was a 1-hour audio of the 7 habits from Dr. Stephen Covey. But the whole book is about 13 hours. So I just had a 1-hour highlight. And that was my first exposure to that. Was a quality technician on the floor. At that time, I was a lean manager and he was a quality technician, or I was a lean coordinator, something like that. And he took my iPod to add a lot of music on there. When he brought it back, he said, "Hey man, I put a business book on there for you." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I said, is it any good? He said, I don't know. I ain't ever listened to it. He said, but my friend's dad talks about it all the time. And I didn't listen to it for 3 years, Adam, till I
Wow.
resigned. And I was driving around in my Corvette trying to get some business and had my audio iPod plugged in, playing music. And it came on in between songs. This time I was agnostic. I didn't become a Christian until actually to that event that I was at 2012 with John Maxwell when he had a faith-based service one of the mornings that we were there. And I went to that and ended up raising my hand, accepting Christ. But I never saw that coming. I just wanted to go hear him talk because I liked him. But anyway, so in between songs, it went off and another song was supposed to come on, but it didn't. A guy started talking. I'm like, what is this? Looked at the screen, said 7 Habits Highly Effective People. I said, oh, that's that business book Zach told me about. I said, I ain't got no business. He said, it's a business book. Maybe I'll listen to it. So I let it play because I hadn't had a client yet, literally. It was in between resigning and building my business. I just cut the cord without any idea of how to start a lean consulting business. No clients lined up or nothing. Just went and did it in the middle of the Great Recession, but I did it effectively. And I'm getting to the point you asked me, but you needed to hear that little story of how I even got introduced to this. It's one reason I'm so passionate about my book deal, because all that guy did was give me a 1-hour audio. He never even listened to it. So when I do the book deal, a lot of people, I don't get to talk to the people, but all these books, these leaders go give them out to the people. Just like he gave me that book. It was an audio book that day though, right? And changed my life. So I know that could happen for people, but I also do it so they can do book studies with them later after we're gone and stuff like that. But anyway, within the first couple of minutes, Dr. Covey on that audio I'm talking about, it probably was literally in 5 minutes or less, somewhere around there. It was really quick. He taught me the most important principle I ever learned my whole life, Adam, and I needed to learn it real hard. And I didn't learn it that day. I just heard it that day. Just like right now, I can teach you leadership right now, but you can't learn leadership right now. You can learn about it. That's what anybody listening right now, they're learning about leadership. They ain't learning leadership till they have mastered applying the stuff. Not applying it once, but mastered applying it subconsciously. Just you don't have to think about it, right? That's when you truly have learned. Hearing about it, you ain't learned nothing. You just learned about something. Just within, he said, between stimulus and response, human beings have the freedom to pause and choose their response. You read about it in the pause button in that book. That's one of the chapters, right?
Yep.
See, now you're getting the background story that goes with it.
Yeah, I love it.
But I ain't ever forgot it. I lived it. But I heard it that day. He says, between stimulus and response, human beings have the freedom to pause and choose their response. I literally hit pause on the stereo. I reached up there, hit the pause button. I had to think about it. It was profound to me. Today it sounds, I almost don't share it because it just seems so simple, but it was profound to me. And I knew I ain't never heard that before. So I make sure I share it with people, just like I'm sharing it with you today. You hear me talk, I'm usually going to say that some point in the conversation. And so I thought about it. First thing I thought though is this joker doesn't know Mack Story. I can't pause and choose my response. I'm an idiot. I got a short temper that like a piece of dynamite. Something can happen. Nothing can happen. And I'd go ballistic. Most people would say it's nothing. I'm trying to turn right at a red light behind somebody. They got the turn signal on, lights red, ain't nobody coming, they sitting there. That used to would make me go ballistic. I just sit there now and wait. I'm like 30, 40 seconds, we're going to be able to go and life's going to be fine. Used to though, I wanted to kill that joker. I wanted to get out and talk to him. I wanted to rev up the car and spin that Z06 tires beside the window. Goofy, stupid stuff. That's what I used to do. I'm better now though, Adam. Don't hold that against me.
I'm not qualified to hold anything against you. I promise you.
But I let it play, Adam. I finally thought on it, marinated on it. And then when I was good, I let it play. As soon as he said it though, I had to hit pause again. I did that 6 or 7 times. I couldn't get past that because I ain't never thought about that. I literally used to tell everybody short temper runs in my family, and I provide the evidence to support my belief, and my family would too. And but I learned something as I finally let it play. He says what that means is we're response able. We're response able. And I was listening to an audio, but I could see him with his hands up like I got my hands now. And when I do it, this is what I do. And he says what that means is we're responsible. Being response able means we're responsible for who we are. For our actions. Nobody made me mad. I chose to be mad. Nobody can make me mad. I know that now, but I didn't know that then. I used to blame everybody else. And so in that moment, I realized short temper didn't run in my family. Irresponsibility run in my family. And I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop the bleeding with me. It wasn't going to come through me into other people. And I probably got mad 10 times that day before I got home, but I thought about it every time. And it's like weightlifting. if I don't look like it today, but back when I was younger, I weighed like 145. I could bench. I think my max bench was 335. I weighed 145 pounds. And last time I really did weights, I was doing dips on a dip machine. And I had a chain with 345-pound plates hooked and I weighed 145 pounds. I had 120 something pounds of weights, or 30 or whatever it was. And tore my cartilage in my chest. I couldn't hardly even open the doorknob. And that was the last time I really ever lifted weights. I got into mountain biking and stuff like that. So I done shrunk up and got old now. But it's the same way though. I didn't walk in the gym say, I want to bench 335 today. No, I probably started with 135, 2 plates instead of 3 plates on each side. I had 1 plate on each side to start with. But you got to build that mental muscle up, and you've got to work at it. I still have to work at it. Sometimes I can't give a good response, but I can just sit down on that pause button and don't give any response. Saying nothing may not be the best thing to do, but it's way better than doing something stupid. Like I told you at the beginning, what I want to do every day, I get on the pause button and choose not to do that because of what I value. I value being there for Rhea versus valuing doing what I probably would have done that in the old days. But when I met Rhea, I was 30. So I had already accidentally improved for about 10 or 12 years, but nothing serious. I still was unbelievable bad temper, but I ain't got all that anymore. That's why I know we can change. There's a lot of people in the blue collar space. They on the front line. Some of them been there 20, 30 years on the front lines because of what I just taught you, because of their temper. They can't control themselves. They got so much talent. I always tell people, if you see a entry level blue collar worker that's been doing their trade for a while, unless they love doing that, ain't nothing wrong with being on the front lines either. If somebody out there is listening and they love being on the front lines, ain't nothing wrong with that. You can turn down all kinds of promotions. You don't have to take them. You can be happy at work. You don't have to be frustrated at work. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But there's a lot of people I know, because I've worked in the blue collar space for 30 plus years. There's a lot of people though, just that one trait alone, their temper, they can't control their temper. There's people lose their job. They can't even keep a job like that. There's people that can't get promoted because of that. Maybe they can do the job. They put them in a job they do by themselves where they don't have to talk to anybody much. And they use their arms and legs and back. But those folks we're our own worst enemy. Yeah. When we get up and look in the mirror, we're looking at 2 people, Adam, our best friend and our worst enemy. And we hang out with either one of them all day long, whichever one we want to choose to hang around with.
Whichever one we want to bring out in that moment. Amen. Man, that you just dropped a lot on me. So one, you called me out a while back. Yes, the one thing I am struggling with, and to just say it on my podcast, is just at home, not losing the temper at home, having those patience, understanding my wife's perspective better is something that I struggle with. I'm great at it in construction, almost to the point where I would say, I got it going on. Like I could come to a job site, have all the patience in the world, talk to every blue collar worker, the trade workers, the management, the CEOs, and then I can get a good picture on the job, and we can get the plan and moving forward with conditions of satisfaction and then goals and a mission and values. And I got it. And when I turn around to look at how do I use that at home? There's definitely some improvement possibilities. And so that's where I'm at. And the words you were saying are ringing loud, clear, true, and character development. I feel like when I leave this conversation, I will never be able to be ignorant to my irresponsibleness, specifically at the house again. So your words are resonating very deep and driving me into thought. And I thank you for that.
Well, that's outstanding. That's what you asked me what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to help
Yeah.
you have a better life, but I can't do it for you. Everybody's heard that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But I also know something else. I put some salt on his tongue, make him thirsty.
Yeah.
He can choose to drink. I might not make him drink, but I make him want to drink.
You make him thirsty. Amen. You could ride him around for a little while too, Mom.
Whatever we got to do.
I'm a firm believer that God puts the right people in your life when you need them. And for whatever reason, I feel that in this moment. So thank you for that. But I want to shift gears back to you and just like better understand you. How about this? What's next in your world? What is the next thing that you're going to accomplish?
Man, I don't even know, but it's happening right now, but it ain't up to me. It may be God ordained. I don't know. We'll find out if it is, but just to share it. And I don't know, don't hold me to this. I have no idea. I got a email a minute ago, and I don't watch this guy, but a lot of people know who he is. You ever heard of Dr. Phil, the Dr. Phil show?
Oh yeah, my wife is obsessed.
I didn't know all this till just a few days yesterday, I guess. I started researching him, but he stopped whatever show he's been doing, his Dr. Phil show. I told the folks I watched him like 20 years ago, but I don't even watch TV. But he started a new prime time. He got his own media network. He started. He moved from California to out near Dallas, and he's gonna have all kind of like prime time shows, different types of shows and things like that. And his senior producers actually heard my podcast episode 299 where I was talking about quiet quitting. You've heard that term, quiet quitting. I've talked about it forever. I just always called it quit but stay, but it's called quiet quitting. And they reached out to me. They reached out about a month ago, and then they called me back 2 days ago, and they talked to me for like an hour and a half. They want to know, like you, they want to know about me and all that sort of stuff. They want to know if I still believe what I said in that podcast back in September when I recorded it. I said, I teach about principles. Everything I talk about, it's like gravity. It ain't going to change. My belief on what I talk about, it ain't going to change because everything I'm talking about, just like gravity. These principles, they're all like gravity. Like gravity, if I walk up to the side of a building and I obey the principle, I don't want to get hurt, so I don't step off the side of the building, I ain't going to get hurt. If I say, that law of gravity, that's a bunch of mess. I think I can really fly or float or whatever. So you step on off. It don't matter what you think, you're going to hit the ground. And that's the way it is with all these principles.
Like physics, you can't argue with it. Yeah.
If you choose to be reactive instead of proactive, don't hit your pause button and choose to fly off the handle, you're going to create distrust. There ain't no other way about it. And if you're trying to create trust, creating more distrust ain't helping you none. You got to figure out, I value creating trust. And that's one of the things you asked me earlier. How did I change?
Yeah.
I started that. But anyway, so I might get a chance to be on one of Dr. Phil's new shows talking about quiet quitting. I started researching him. His new network, he's already got like commitments, contracts, whatever you call it. It's out on his website somewhere. 65 million TVs he's already knows he's going to be on. So that probably could cause me a lot of grief if 65 million people found out about me at one time. Because I don't really promote, I don't market, I do word of mouth because I want it to be real. I want everything we're doing to be authentic. I don't cold call people or nothing. People say, how you get business if you don't try to sell, you don't cold call and all that sort of stuff. I said, if you see my LinkedIn page, you listen to my podcast, whatever, that's all I do. I just add value to people. And they say, how you get business? I'm like, answer my phone and answer my email. They said, what if nobody calls or emails you? I'm like, I record a podcast or I write a book or I go fishing or I go hiking, but I don't go trying to get some business because I ain't into sales. I don't want to try to manipulate people. I want to motivate people. It's a lean principle though, right? We talking about lean. We ain't really talked about lean, but I know a lot about lean, but it's a lean principle. Living that principle in my professional life is I'm going slow to go fast. I don't want to go fast. I want to go slow so that it's real. Then I'm going to go fast. I don't know when to go fast is, but it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. It's going to be something crazy. And this could be this Dr. Phil thing if it works out and I get in front of 65 million people and he says my name and just says blue collar leadership, because it's just saying that if he says blue collar leadership somewhere, most people don't know what that means. They'll go look it up, that sort of stuff. But I ain't going on there for all that. I'm going on there to help somebody. I had to do a little 1 minute or 2 minute, like an audition thing, talking about quiet quitting. The last thing I said is, as I said, Dr. Phil, I want to come help them quiet quitters become go-getters. That's what I want to do. Because a lot of people who do the least amount they can do on a job to get paid the most, they do the least amount. A lot of times they do the least amount because they don't like the boss. Got bad bosses. So I do a bad job, try to make the boss look bad, but I do just enough not to lose my job. But if I'm trying to make the boss look bad, who looks the worst? Me. It's like I teach in that Frontlines book. We working for ourselves. Me, my body, my brain, my mind, my muscles, that's my business. Me. I want to grow and develop my business. Then I need to lead my business. I ain't worried about you. I want you to win and I want to win, but I ain't worried about making you look bad because I'm going to look worse. For anybody who understands character, if I'm making you look bad, that makes me look worse. But if they understand character and you're a bad boss and I still do a good job, I look phenomenal because everybody who knows about character knows I'm doing a phenomenal job working for a bad boss and I'm going to get some good opportunities. When I teach people, if you got a bad boss, don't blame the bad boss. Why you work there? That's the truth.
Yeah.
I hear people complain about the boss all the time. Well, they wouldn't be your boss if you didn't work there.
Yeah. You're
Well,
in
I
control.
got bills and all this kind of stuff. So you got to make different choices so you can get rid of those bills. Or I need a raise, man. Well, you need to make different choices so you can get a raise. I told you about getting paid 20 grand, man, in 2016. I read my first leadership book in 2008. I was a lean manager in a plant. 2016, a lot of stuff happened. But the one thing had happened was I had been reading books for 8 years and applied it in my life and had stories. And a $3 billion company hired blue collar Mac, country talking Mac, who I've got to tell you, folks, I'm bilingual. I speak English and country at the same time, most of the time. But
I love
but they brought me in. They paid 20 grand for me to speak, me and Rhea to speak to 80 top leaders from 40 different countries around the world, leading a $3 billion organization. Most of them had a PhD in their area of responsibility. And we did a 4-hour workshop on my book, 10 Values of High Impact Leaders, talking about character. That's what turning off the TV, getting focused. It took, nobody would pay me $5 to talk about leadership in 2008. Somebody paid me $20,000 to talk for 4 hours about it in 2016. That's what you can do. Anybody can do it. You ain't got to do that, but you can do something.
I love it. You are an inspiring man. What's a word or phrase that drives you crazy?
A word or phrase? Oh,
Yep.
when somebody says it's somebody else's fault.
Ooh, so blame. Yeah.
Blame, let me tell you, I learned this from Myron Golden the other day. I love it.
Yes.
Blame is the most popular excuse.
Interesting.
I
Huh.
talk about blame. Henry Cloud says blame is comfort food for the soul. Makes me feel good to say it's somebody else's fault.
Yeah. Mm.
Then I ain't got to do nothing. If it's your fault, I ain't got to do nothing. It's my fault. I got to do everything. There's a big gap between doing nothing and doing everything.
Mm.
That gap's called the leadership gap.
Is there a book on that or not yet?
I
Or
got a lot of my books teach all this stuff.
yeah,
Actually, that's the first time I ever said it like that.
I like it. There's something big there. I often talk about the knowledge gap, but I refer to the 7-to-1 retirement to entering construction rate that's out there. So another question for you. Who are some people that have made a difference in your life or your story or your career? You've mentioned Ria a lot.
She was a
And
big one.
I know I can tell and I love that, man. Yeah.
She gave me
Well,
purpose like I ain't never had.
who are some other folks who have
Yes, Steve.
impacted your life?
Yes, Stephen R. Covey. He wrote the 7 Habits and the 8th Habit and some other books, but that man impact. That was the audio I was talking about. That changed my life. I never got to meet him. I was about to get to meet him, and then he had a mountain bike accident and got a concussion and never recovered and passed away. But I never got to meet him and thank him because me and my son was going to go meet him. I was going to tell him because of his inspiration that I was able to rebuild that relationship. Then John Maxwell was the second one. Dr. Covey, he talked like a PhD, and he was. John Maxwell's a PhD too in seminary, but he was a pastor. As soon as I discovered John's just a good old country boy, he just talks like whatever he wants. He makes fun and all that. I said, oh, I can do this if I can just be me. If he can be him and get away with this, then I can be me and get away with it. Except I had to fix my character. He didn't have to fix his. I had to get to work. But actually, that provided a platform. But those are the two most powerful people. I'm friends. A friend and mentor of mine since 2015 is Jimmy Collins. He was a former president and COO of Chick-fil-A, and he's one of those people. He would not be my friend and mentor if I was the old Mac. But he's a big cheerleader of this Mac, and it validates me. I don't care what anybody else says because I know who he is, and for him to believe in me and tell me just keep doing it, the world needs to hear you. Just don't stop. And he follows me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't really follow anybody, but he follows me, and that's just amazing.
Super, super cool. I love it. So what else is out there? What other fruit have we not hit that folks in the lean construction community need to hear from Mack's story?
One thing they need to know is I actually got a book called Blue Collar Kaizen. I ain't trying to sell them the book, but I want to make them aware of the book because we ain't really talked about the normal lean stuff. But Blue Collar Kaizen, leading lean and lean teams, and what
So,
I share in that book is what I learned during those 11,000 hours about engaging the people. Because as a lean consultant, I come in every Monday for a lot of years. I get a new team. It wasn't really a team; they're just a loosely used term to describe a group of people. But they were a team by Friday, and I share in that book how I implemented the character development in the Kaizen event. That's all that book is about: is how I used character development in my Kaizen events to actually get quick buy-in, to get engagement, and to sustain the game because they were following me. They may not like the leader, they may not like the co-workers, they may not like change, but they like me, most of them. And And that was enough to make it happen. And I got a 30-part podcast on that. I may be mistaken, but I think it starts at episode 211 on the Blue Collar Leadership podcast. And if that's the right number, there's about 30 minutes per chapter on there. So it's about 15 hours of me talking about that. It's not the same as the book, but it is a lot of good content related to the book. Same for the book you touched on, Blue Collar Leadership, Leading from the Front Lines. I got a 30-part podcast series on it as well. It starts at episode 65. And I highly encourage people to read the books too, but you don't have to read the books. I got 368 podcast episodes. There's hours of content out there.
I love it. You're right. We haven't talked a whole bunch about lean.
But however, we can later if you want to.
But we've also talked nothing but lean from a personal perspective. I, again, walked into this. I don't know you personally. You don't know me personally. So I feel like we're getting a little bit closer. If we had to talk about lean for maybe 2 minutes, what would we talk about in your words?
I would tell your audience, just in case somebody's listening that don't know why this is all about lean that we're talking about, because Toyota, the lean world, whoever, they reference Toyota a lot, but everybody seems to teach 2 pillars of lean: continuous improvement and respect for the people. And yep, 2 pillars. That ain't what I teach though. I lay them down and I teach 2 layers of lean. Respect for people's on the bottom, continuous improvements on the top. And there's a principle John talks about based on research studies. 87% of our results in life come from character and only 13% from competency. And so when I tie that to lean, I see respect for the people is the character side of lean. Continuous improvement is the competency side of lean. So when I talk about it, I say 87% is about the character. You teach this kind of stuff. I tell folks all the time, kind of stuff that I teach and talk about, if the leaders will model it so that the people actually buy into it, they ain't going to buy into it just because I showed up. They're going to buy into it if the leaders model it or not. It ain't Mack's fault if they don't buy in. It's the leader's fault. And so I could teach this stuff to a group that buys into this. They'd wear out a company that does lean without this. And the company that I'm teaching character development, if they never heard of lean, they'll wear out that other company, because they're going to figure out how to get better just because they want to. But if you inject them with the lean principles on top of that we bought in, we want to make it happen, you better get out of the way, because this team is going to be crazy. And I got a book called Blue Collar Leadership and Culture, the 5 components for building high performance teams. That's like a roadmap for how do you create the Chick-fil-A of your industry. And I got a Jason Denham in the construction business. He's a VP of electrical construction, and I've been mentoring him for 10 years, and he teaches my stuff. He models it. He lives it. And he's not perfect, but he's bought into this stuff, and his results show it. He went from 4 years. He's been building an electrical construction team for a large MEP. He basically started with his group, the electrical piece, with 0 employees and 0 sales. And it won't be long. He'll be at 100 million in sales, and he's getting close to 200 employees. 4 years ago, both of those numbers were 0.
Wow.
And he ain't ever advertised a job hiring people. He got people lined up waiting to come join his team in the construction industry that I hear all over the place. We can't find people. Like I teach, he knows, and I teach people, when you do this stuff, your competition may have a labor shortage, but you ain't going to have a labor shortage, because all you got to do is suck all the good folks from them. And they may have a big problem, but you ain't going to have any problem. But see, people will say it's a labor shortage. I ain't trying to hire 200 million people to fill every job in the planet. I only need 50 people. If you ain't got people wanting to work in your organization, the problem ain't because there's a labor shortage, just because people don't want to work in your organization. They people working everywhere. That's what the truth. That's that leadership truth, Adam. That's the question you got to answer. Why don't people want to work in my organization? And I can tell you why. It's because what all the people already working there and that used to work there say about your organization. You got to overcome that word of mouth advertisement before you can attract and retain top talent.
Yeah, sometimes it's taking a long, hard, deep look in that mirror. That's why we call it reflection. So this has been a ton of fun, man. I want you just the last thing, take it out for us. What's your mic drop moment? What do you want to say to the people, the blue collar workers out there? Because that's who this podcast is dedicated for. Those superintendents, those workers showing up to the job site at 6 a.m. every morning, closing the gate at 6, and just trying to get better. Like, mic drop us. Take us on out, my man.
I don't know how much a mic drop it'll be, but I just want to share, just to talk to those blue collar folks out there, because I value them highly. I'm still one of them. And I know a lot of them are overworked, underappreciated, underdeveloped, used and abused. But I'm telling you, if you'll go develop yourself, you can put a stop to that. It don't matter where you work. You don't have to work there. But if you buy into this stuff, you can work there and you can be highly effective. I ain't telling you got to quit your job, but you can become the leader you wish you had. And that's what a lot of the blue collar folks won't do, because they like that word blame. A lot of blue collar folks, and I used to be one of them, I blamed all those bad bosses. The whole time I was blaming them, I always said, I don't ever want to be a boss. And I still don't. I never want to be a boss. But when I learned what a true leader was, oh, I wanted to be that. I want to be that all day long. Once I understood what it was, I want to be that at home, and I wanted to be that at work. If you're a blue collar guy, got a bad boss, and you don't want to be the boss, you need to learn what leadership is, because our world needs you to step up. But you got to be willing to step up. Our world is suffering from leadership malpractice everywhere, every country, every industry, houses, homes, families, schools, churches, business, government. We suffering. All you got to do is look out the window at the world. But see, most people look out the window at the world and blame somebody for what's going on in the world. You got to look in the mirror and take responsibility for what's going on in your world. If everybody would do that, literally, the world could change instantly. And a lot of people are angry today. They need to take that energy and put it into growing and developing themselves. Everything wrong in this world, we talk about lean, can be traced back to a root cause of poor character. There ain't nothing that ain't a reflection of poor character in the world. It's bad in the world. That's why character development is the root cause of everything you want to improve. People won't buy into lean. Why? Character development. Maybe they don't like change. Maybe they don't like you. Maybe they don't like the boss. Maybe they ain't got the courage to change. Maybe they want to change, but they know the coworker is going to talk about them. A lot of people won't step up. Anyway, that's I don't know if there was a mic drop moment in there, but I need your help, folks. If you're listening, this world is in terrible condition. The character of this world, our communities, start at your house, take it to work, let your work become a beacon to the community. I try to tell my clients, if you're buying into this stuff, invite people from outside of your organization. Start spreading it, becoming infectious. Negative attitude is infectious, but so is a positive one. It just don't catch on quite as quick. The negative one, you're going to catch that one. If you get around it and don't get away from it, you're going to get it. But you can get around a positive attitude for weeks and months and never catch it. But your children, if there's no more important reason for you in your life to dive into this stuff, do it for your children or your grandchildren. You can help them have a life that they ain't never going to have ever unless you model this kind of stuff that I'm talking about and I teach about for them. If you're the parent or the grandparent and they hanging around you, do it for them. Like I told you, I do everything for you. You may not know it, but I promise you I know it, because I wish I was living that other life, except I value helping you live a better life than me living my old life. It'd be easy for me to go drink a beer this afternoon and cuss and act an idiot and get mad at the world. I could go back to being that person. 1 second. All right, Adam, I got to leave. I got the mic drop now. I'm going to drop it right here. You can edit all this out if you need to shorten it or whatever you got to do. Rhea and I, she talks, when we're home, she talks to a bunch of sex traffic victims in the Atlanta area all the time, every week. She takes them through book studies and all this kind of stuff. They invited, one time she told them something about me and they wanted to meet me. So I went up and talked to a small group, 7 or 8 girls around a table this specific day. One of them, after I talked and shared some of my stories, she said, Mac, do you ever want to go back? I said, what do you mean ever go back? She said, you ever want to be that other guy? I said, every day. Every day I want to go back. All those girls were just leaned on the table looking, because they wasn't expecting that answer. They said, why you want to go back? I said, because that's easy. I said, being that guy that I told you about, the guy that I've shared a little about with you today, Adam, for me to be that guy today takes 0 effort. That's who I am without any effort. That's who I naturally am. To be the guy talking to you today, it takes a lot of effort every day. And I wouldn't do that for me, but I'd do it for you.
That's what lean builders do. Amen. Thank you for coming on, and just, man, you crushed it. Thank you.
And I'll give you a nugget right here.
Go.
For you, it's for you, Adam, and anybody listening. I'm always open, but I ain't always available. Like, we've been talking for about an hour and a half, right? I've been fully open, but I ain't been available to anybody else because I'm dedicated to you, right? I'm always open, but I ain't always available. My cell phone, this one right here, 334-728-4143. I can't always answer it. Like right now, if it rings, I ain't answered. Actually, I won't even know it's turned off. The speaker, I got a little setting. It is on, but can't nobody ring through. But anybody listening can call me. They can text me, see if I'm available. Tell me who you are, because I won't know your number. You can call me, Adam, anytime. You need some mentoring? I'm telling you, man, I love you. I'll do. I heard a guy one time said, game knows game. I don't know what's going on in your life or where you've been, where you're going, but you got a lot of potential that I guarantee you. And I think the same thing about myself still. I got a lot of untapped potential. All you got to do is call me, man. I'll mentor you whenever you want to do more podcasts. If you want to do a series of podcasts, I like who you are. And I don't know you, but just like all the other blue collar people that I meet, I don't have to know them. I don't care who they are, what they're doing, what they ain't doing. All I need to know to want to mentor somebody and believe in them is I got to know they want to be better. And I already know that about you just from today. And we ain't never talked, but I know you want to be better and you're going to get better. There ain't no doubt about it. But I'll help you if you need it.
That's what life's all about, my man. And I'm going to take you up on that. I got your cell phone number now. I just have to go re-listen to the episode. Me and 270 other subscribers got your cell phone.
It's at the top of my blue collar. It's at the top of my bluecollarleadership.com website, right at the top left corner. Same numbers right up there.
Amongst a million other people who have engaged with you and your content, and soon 67 million more people, which
that could be crazy if that happens. You can pray for me, Adam. You want to give me some ROI on today's talk? Get your folks pray for that to happen.
That's amazing. Absolutely. I'll be lifting you as soon as we get off here. No question. I got to connect you with my buddy Steve Turner with Bring Back the Trades. You may or may not already know him.
I've seen that logo out there.
He's doing a lot of big stuff in the racing community. He's starting to get some big notoriety. And I think rising tides rise all ships. Would love to make that connection. And then I'm definitely going to take you up on it. I could use a conversation or two of learning with you and would appreciate and value that just from a personal growth perspective too. So thank you for that. And man, I'm having a tough time even ending this thing. It's you're magical, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a privilege, man. Thank you for sharing your audience and keep doing what you're doing. Our world needs you to keep making an impact. Keep climbing. That's what I always say. Keep climbing.